name is Reverend Leslie Harrison, and I'm an associate minister at Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Morristown, New Jersey. And I'm also a domestic violence responder in Camden County. A domestic violence responder is a person that the police department calls when they are called to a domestic violence situation, and we meet the victim at the police station to help walk them through everything that's going to happen to them. We're like a calm presence in the midst of their chaos. So we talk with them, we sit with them, we counsel them. We don't tell them what to do, but we give them the resources so that they know what they can do to help them get in a better situation so they are not always involved in domestic violence. Well, usually, if you're capable, you dial 911 yourself. But if you're not, hopefully you have a neighbor that can hear or see whatever is going on, and they'll call 911, and then the police department will come, and the police department will call to the domestic violence hotline number, and then they will ask us to meet them at the police station, whatever police station it is. They will ask us to meet them at the police station, and we sit and talk with the person.
So after your conversation, what do they experience with the police?
Usually with our conversation, we talk to them about whether they want to submit a restraining order. Do they feel safe? Would they like to go to a shelter if there's one available? And things of that nature. And the police department, generally they just take their information and ask them if they would like to file a restraining order. And they give them all the particulars for that. So after domestic violence crisis, once they remove the perpetrator, and I must add, be it male or female, once they remove the perpetrator, the other person generally goes back home or goes home with family so that they're in a safe place. The victims, most people think domestic violence victims are females, but they can be males. We do have some females that have anger management problems also. So the victim could be male or female. In the society that we live in now, a big misconception is that the victim asked for whatever happened to them. Many times people think that if the person hadn't ran their mouth, then maybe they wouldn't have got hit. Or if you stayed there, if it happened to you once, you should have left. You know it's going to happen again. So why do you continually stay in a violent situation? Now, with gay and lesbian couples, same-sex couples, it could be a male or a female, male on male domestic violence, or female domestic violence. So we have to take all those things into consideration also. Outside don't understand that sometimes the victim has nowhere else to go, and so you try to live where you are and make it as comfortable as you can. Sometimes you don't know what avenues you have, what resources you have to get out of that situation, so you feel like you're stuck, and so you just stay there and just take the abuse. Domestic violence has no respect of person or socioeconomic levels, education levels. It can happen at any level in our society. Well, we have to remember that domestic violence is not always physical abuse. It can be financial, emotional, or mental abuse. So we just look at it, a lot of people just look at it as physicals, black eyes, broke arms, broke legs, thrown down the steps, banged into a wall. But that's not it at all, many times. many times it's being the stay-at-home wife, and some people think that's the dream life, to be a stay-at-home spouse, but it may not be. It may be that you're stay-at-home because your partner is a control freak, and so that keeps them in control because you are in the house 24/7, so they know where you are, they know what you do. You have no control over any money. You have no control over anything that happens in your household. You are just there. So sometimes the person with the purse strings, with the money, with the finances, they decide what clothes you are going to wear, what supermarket you are going to shop at. I mean, you have credit cards to certain things because they want to know everything that you're doing. So that's financial abuse when you have no way of spending your own money. That's another difficult thing too, because I guess the most common is control. The victimizer is a control person. They need to be in control. They really want the person that they claim to love to be at their constant beck and call, because they need to be in control. They need to be telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Sometimes it's alcohol or drugs related. So that would cause problems in and of itself. In alcohol and drugs, we know that they alter the chemicals in your brain, causing you to turn into someone who you were not before you started using.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes both alcohol and drugs will make you feel invincible and powerful and feel like you should be lording over someone. So that's one of the signs of a victimizer, their alcohol and drug use. Sometimes it's a financial thing. Sometimes it's not even deliberate, but it's about communication. And they don't even realize that they are abusing somebody because they are self-centered, or they have their mind set on one thing and they're not seeing how it's hurting someone else. So it's a real thin line on what a victimizer, a perpetrator looks like. But when you dig deep and psychoanalyze them and listen to their story, you can find the points that will show that they have an abusive tendency, they have an abusive nature. But all that can be fixed with behavior modification and new coping skills. Learn how to cope with certain stressors. And so instead of hitting things, to learn to talk about it. When the stressors come up, to learn how to cope with them, to learn how to circumvent them, to learn how to work with them and work through them, rather than being angry and upset because you don't know which way to go. And so then you take your anger out on someone else and your frustration on someone else. So. Domestic violence is the norm, unfortunately. If you grew up in a domestic violence situation where mom screamed and hollered all the time, generally you'll scream and holler all the time. If you grew up where you saw the father always slapping the mother, then when you become a mother and there's a husband and he slaps on you, you just think that's the norm. So helping people to understand that it is not normal and these kinds of things do not happen in everyone's family is kind of difficult to retrain their mind to know that, no, this is not normal. It happens in the church because the church is filled with regular people. So the everyday people of society are in the church, and it's happening in the church. It's happening, the leaders of the church and with the pew members, with the congregation. Like I said, it just doesn't have any particular demographic. It doesn't have a pigeonhole where the victim or the victimizer fit into this pocket. It happens to everybody. So it's about coping skills, it's about managing anger, it's about communication.
Yeah, but how can you hide a black eye and you know you gotta be in church on Sunday?
Makeup. Makeup.
Hey, Sister Gosnell, you got an extra cake of foundation.
It's really simple to hide, and it's easy to hide your emotions. It's easy to hide your emotions until you've been victimized. You don't know all the things that you can hide. But yeah, it's easy to hide financial abuse. All these things are easy to hide. It's just something that you can hide. If you're really ashamed of things, you can hide it. You can not talk about it, or when it's in the conversation, you can walk away. Signs of domestic violence many times are withdrawing from conversation, making excuses, a change in behavior where a person was really active, but when they change the relationship or they get married, no longer are they coming to Sunday dinner, or no longer are they able to go to the bowling party. And some things, you know that when you get in a relationship, some things get cut out. But when you become an isolated person and you never have time for the people that were near and dear to you, then there's something going on. It's more than just, I'm in a relationship now and I'm giving my time to this relationship. More things are going on, and it's important for loved ones to be looking to make sure that isolation is not emotional abuse. That's a part with self-esteem, where someone is always telling you that you are no good, you'll never be any good, your mother's no good, so why would you expect you to be something pristine when you came out of trash? So you're always going to be trash. You can't do anything right. I mean, you could cook spaghetti the same way all the time, and then just this one time they fly off the handle and say, you never knew how to cook spaghetti. You can't please this person because they are a control freak. So the emotional abuse of you always being downgraded, of you never being good enough, that's psychologically and emotionally draining. Domestic violence help, then you really don't reach out to find out what help it is that you can get. But there are coalitions, shelters, the police department, various community groups that have workshops, symposiums, and weekly sessions for you to attend to help you work through your situation, or to take you out of your situation and help you to find housing and employment and education. But you have to be willing to seek out the help. No, I would say that most aren't, until it gets to a bad situation where the police department has to come in. and usually by that time there's black eyes, broke arms, or the children are going through issues and the school has stepped in to see what's going on at this house and find out that it's domestic violence. As a victim, you learn how to cover it up. A black eye, some makeup will cover that up.
I can't see myself
Tears.
With a cover girl, so.
Tears can be handled. Bruises. I don't know why people think that people run into doors and cabinets, and I don't know why people accept those as excuses when they see their loved ones with strange bruises or continual bruising on their arms and their legs. I mean, you can't hit the bedpost, and the refrigerator door can't hit you in the head but so many times.
Or your face just repeatedly runs into his fist.
Exactly. So it's important for people to look at their neighbors, look at their loved ones, and try to see what's going on. Generally, that happens if there's an apartment or a multifamily dwelling. Then the police department will get the call through a third party, or if something is going on in the street, people fighting on the sidewalk or at a store or something like that, a third party might call in, but generally people don't get involved. Unfortunately, then the person just goes right back to their abuser. So it's like, well, they went back. But you don't understand why they went back. They may not have anywhere else to go. Or they may feel, sometimes the victims feel like they caused their situations. If I would just be nicer, if I would just learn how to cook it the way he likes it cooked. If I would iron his shirt the way he likes his shirt ironed, if I would wash her car the way she wanted it washed, if I would do the errands that she asked me to do, and not take more time at the store looking at whatever they slated as domestic violence is communication. So, because you can feel like if you're in an argument and you don't want the argument to escalate to physical. Words are one thing, but when hitting comes in, it's a whole other thing. So you may call 911 and the police come, and you're just having a shouting match. So they calm you down. One person goes to, both people go to the police department. And then when you sit and you talk about it, even though you're in separate rooms and everybody gets calmed down, it's all that it was a communication problem. But when you get frustrated and you can't talk anymore, just human nature, that animalistic nature is, we start throwing things, hitting things, like cats in a bag trying to get out. So not all domestic violence cases that come in as domestic violence, once they go to the services that the resources and go to family therapy, it is a communication issue. And it's sometimes it's a cultural issue coming from different worlds. If you come from a world where, a culture where the man is in charge, but maybe the female comes from a culture where the females are free to be me and you do what you need to do to get things done. So a female just does whatever it has to get done. But if the man is in a domination culture, a doministic culture, it's going to take a while for them to communicate. For her to know that he expects her to be cooking dinner every day. Or whatever it is that he expects. They may be expecting two different things in the relationship. So once they come together in family therapy, they can either work things through or the relationship is just over. But because you're not speaking the same language, you start shouting at each other. The results of domestic violence are broken homes, hurt children, um, drug addiction, alcohol abuse, people who have poor coping skills. And most of it is manifested in the children. And even though the children look like they're okay, there's little things that are happening to those children that they're seeing that you wouldn't think that they would pick up. And they probably don't think that they picked it up. But then when they become teenagers or young adults, that stuff starts manifesting in their system. And so the females start looking for men that are like the men that were in her life when she was growing up. And it's not even that she doesn't know how to choose a man. Like things attract like things. And so you sometimes cleave to those things and you're looking for love. And so it's amazing how the abuser has a way of manipulating words so that love looks like love until you really tap into the love. So the flowers are all wonderful and they treat you good, and then something happens and the apologies come profusely, and then you get all these strange, wonderful gifts because you're supposed to forget and love again. But the children really suffer because they have no consistency, especially if they have to leave their house and go to a shelter, or they're back and forth at grandmom's house or a friend's house, and so that means that there's nothing constant in their life but school. Everything else is helter-skelter. But they know at school there's consistency at school because you usually have the same teacher for the whole year. The same people are in your classroom. You're doing the same thing, the same structure. But at home, you go home, you don't know what's going to be going on at home. You don't know whether you're going to eat. You don't know whether it's going to be peace today. You don't know whether you're going to watch TV. You don't know what's going to happen at home. So the children are really, really scarred deep. That the only thing that can bring it out is exactly because you've been through a traumatic situation. Yeah, domestic violence at home is like being at war, and it's worse because you don't know who the enemy is. They're supposed to be your parents, but there's a war going on, and you don't know who to cleave to. You don't know whose side are you supposed to be on. You're a child. You don't know who the winner is. You love both of your parents. So if your mom is the victim and you get sent away with your mom, you're pulled away from your dad. And children don't understand these things. They don't understand. You have to really talk them through it. So that's why they get treated for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, so
and that's just one of the things in society that as a community we have to look out for everybody, which we don't do well. So these children, as they go through therapy, a lot of times it can come out and they can learn behavior modification and how to be redirected so they can become successful citizens. But what about those that fall through the crack? Then they wind up, those are the ones that wind up incarcerated because they haven't learned to control themselves. So their anger is high on the scale, and so they need anger management, but it's too far gone now. So they commit violent crimes. So as a minister and a part of the church, I think that it's important for the church to not think of young people as the church of tomorrow, but think of them as the church of today, and watch and see how they are communicating and reacting with each other. To not necessarily pull them apart and decide that their house is full of domestic violence, but as a whole to teach children coping skills and anger management and about stress and different things that might trigger them to become angry, and how to cope with those feelings, and how to use their words to talk through things, how to communicate with people with their body language and with their words, so that you can come to the table and be friends and be okay with it's okay to disagree. It's all right for us not to have the same opinion, and to respect each other by listening to the opinions of others and just act accordingly. But that's something that you have to train. You have to train children, and what better place than the church to be training children how they should love one another. But then that goes back to the adults. We have to put forth that behavior too, and love one another, and not backbite and gossip about each other, and be straight up and communicate well with our peers so that the children can see.
Well, hold on. You're talking about changing a ingrown structure of the academic. Gossip is a Sunday.
And if you don't participate in it, then it can't go. So that's an important thing to teach children, that when you hear someone talking about somebody, for me, I'm always asking, well, what did you say? What did you say to keep the conversation going? Did you defend the person, or did you chime in?
Okay. So, all right. So, in short, the church, we, the body of Christ.
Having a conversation with people after church and seeing how they're doing, seeing what they're going through, hearing what they're going through. But you have to develop a relationship. You just don't talk to strangers and tell them your deep, intimate secrets. But when you have a relationship with people and you understand where they're going through, or maybe you can see in them something that you went through, and you reach out to people, then that's how we're going to help people to get through this domestic violence stuff, and stop acting like we haven't been through anything, that we were saved all our lives, and we haven't gone through any trials and tribulations, that we haven't had children in college and children at home, and we still don't know how we're going to pay for that child to stay in college. But we're moseying right along. Like we don't know about having a car that's on its last leg. And how can we help someone to get a better car so that they can keep their job, so their child can stay in school? We have to just stop acting like we have arrived, and in order for other people to get to where we are, they're going to have to figure it out on their own. If you've already been down the street and you know where the potholes are, I feel like you should tell somebody, watch out, there's a pothole, go around it, don't go through it, go around it. But many times in church, people just come to church, they don't know the people that sit on the pew with them. They don't know the people that even park their car next to them. They just come and get what they wanted to get, and they go home. So I believe that the thing for the church to do is to start having true fellowship